There's a really interesting idea that pops up online a lot, and it's one of those things that could totally change how you think about our planet.
I mean, think about it. The idea that all these changes we're seeing aren't really because of us, but because of some huge natural cycle happening deep inside the Earth. It kind of makes sense on the surface, doesn't it?
And look, people are genuinely asking about this stuff, trying to piece together what they've learned about planetary science with what they're seeing in the world. So, you know what? Let's take this theory seriously. Let's really dig in and see if the science holds up. To get to the bottom of this mystery, we've got to start with the basics. What exactly is our planet's incredible invisible shield?
See, the whole theory is based on a really cool fact. Our planet's magnetic field isn't static. Not at all. It's always moving, it gets weaker, it gets stronger, and every once in a while, it does something truly wild. It completely flips on its head. So what does that actually mean? What happens when the North Pole basically decides it wants to be the South Pole?
It's pretty much what it sounds like. During a geomagnetic reversal, your compass would literally point south instead of north. This is a massive planetary reorganization, and it's all driven by that giant churning ball of molten iron at the center of the Earth.
But here's the key thing to notice. Look at these timescales. These pole flips are totally normal in geological time. They've happened hundreds of times. The last big one was way back, 780,000 years ago. And that weakening we're seeing now, that's a process that's been happening for 2 centuries. It's not some sudden overnight event.
Now, we've got to bust a major myth right here. During a reversal, the shield does not just switch off. It gets weaker, yeah, and it gets a lot messier. You'd have multiple north and south poles popping up all over the globe. Your compass would be useless, but, and this is the important part, a protective field plus our atmosphere is always there. Okay, so we know these flips happen. They're real. But here's the million-dollar question. Do they actually cause climate chaos?
If these magnetic flips were the real culprit behind climate change, they would have left fingerprints all over the geologic record, right? We should be able to look at rocks and fossils and see a clear pattern of climate disaster every time the poles flipped. Okay, first piece of evidence, the timing. In geology, a sudden pole flip takes, at a minimum, thousands of years to finish. It's an incredibly slow-motion event. That just doesn't line up with the super fast warming we've seen in just the last century and a half.
And what about the impact? When scientists look back through that ancient record, at all those hundreds of past reversals, how many times did a flip coincide with a major mass extinction or a global climate catastrophe? The answer they found is 0. Not a single one.
So, yeah, the verdict from the physical evidence is in. As cool as geomagnetic reversals are, they just aren't the villain in our modern climate story. The timeline is wrong, and there's no history of them causing climate disasters in the past.
So, if it's not the magnetic field, what is going on? Well, to get the real story, we have to turn to the biggest, most comprehensive body of climate science on Earth, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or IPCC.
The IPCC's job is to pull together thousands upon thousands of scientific studies from all over the world to give us the clearest possible picture of what's happening to our planet.
And this is where the data tells a powerful story. Check out this map. It shows that at just 1.5 degrees of warming, which is a target we are getting very close to, a whole lot of animal species start getting plushed into dangerously hot conditions.
Now watch what happens when we jump to 3 degrees of warming. That risk doesn't just creep up, it explodes. Huge parts of the planet suddenly fall into that critical danger zone for biodiversity.
And at 4 degrees, wow, the danger just swallows up almost every major hotspot for life on this planet. This isn't a theory, it's a clear, escalating threat that is directly tied to rising global temperatures.
And after reviewing all of that evidence, the scientific consensus is crystal clear. The warming we're seeing and the impacts we just looked at are caused by greenhouse gas emissions from human activities.
But understanding the true cause is crucial because it also shows us where to find the solutions. The IPCC doesn't just tell us what's wrong, it maps out what we can do about it.
And here's one of the biggest reasons for hope. Just look at this chart. The cost of solar and wind power has absolutely plummeted. In many places, it's now cheaper to build new renewables than it is to build new fossil fuel plants. That's a total game changer.
And the solutions aren't just about big power plants. They are everywhere. They're in our food systems, in the way we manage our forests, and in how we design our cities. Every single one of these is a real opportunity to make a huge impact.
So let's just bring it all home. Our planet's magnetic field? Absolutely fascinating science. A real rabbit hole to go down. But it's a different story from our climate story. The evidence is just overwhelming. The challenge right in front of us is all about cutting emissions.
And really, that brings us to the final question, a question for all of us. The science has laid out the map. It shows us the problem, and it shows us the possible solutions. The next chapter isn't going to be written in ancient rocks. It's going to be written by the choices that we all make, starting today.